Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley aren't the only two members of Congress who are landlords. A great deal of lawmakers own rental properties. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the fact that there are a large numbers of the members of Congress and people who are their staff members and, everyone up in DC who own real estate, and they own rental properties specifically, okay? And this is not anything new, okay? A lot of them are very, very wealthy people, and this is where they keep their wealth. And I don't have a problem with it. This is something that goes on in both parties, both Democrats and Republicans, so this is not a partisan issue. But some people do see it as an issue because, they just think that it's not right that they have these politicians who are landlords. And, it seems kind of ridiculous argument to me telling anybody, hey, well, you can't, own real estate. You can't, try to make a profit off of these things. But keeping that in mind, there's a reason why there's a lot of very landlord-friendly things written into the tax code, okay? And part of that reason is because there's so many, Congress people who are landowners themselves and own rental properties. Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think, okay? Do you think it's an okay thing for politicians, Congress people, their staff, the president, etc., to be rental property owners, to be landlords? I already told you, I do. I think there's nothing wrong with it, as long as you keep all of the financials open, okay, and you're not trying to, do some underhanded, shady deals. I don't see an issue with it, okay? So, this article comes from news.yahoo.com, and it says, when a lawmaker is your landlord, Capitol Hill is packed with senators, House members, and senior staff who rent out property. And let's see exactly what this article is saying. At least 238 federal lawmakers are also landlords. More than 200 senior congressional staffers also own properties and land they rent across the U.S. There is no limit under current law on how much they can rake in as landlords. The Empire State Building has decorated the New York City skyline for more than 9 decades. One of the world's best-known buildings, it has inspired memorable movie scenes and drawn millions of tourists to its sky-high observation decks. The 102-story skyscraper also happens to be operated in a trust led by the family of Cynthia Malkin, the wife of Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. Malkin's father was a real estate mogul who today remains chairman emeritus of Empire State Realty Trust, a now publicly traded company. So yeah, I guess the wife of this Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut owns part of the freaking Empire State Building. That's pretty impressive, nothing wrong with that though. My question is, what did they expect? A lot of these politicians who are coming into office, they're very wealthy and they have lots of investments, and real estate is one of those things, okay? And I actually think it's one of the better things for them to be invested in, and much better than some of the stock market stuff they're doing. I've recently read that insider trading for people in Congress was legal, and I'm just like, wow, that's insane, it doesn't even seem right, but wait, whatever, okay? For Cynthia Malkin, that real estate investment trust earns as much as $1 million a year, according to Blumenthal's personal financial disclosures, in which lawmakers are required to report spousal income. It's just one facet of her inherited real estate wealth that makes Blumenthal, who is up for re-election in 2022, one of the richest people in Congress. The holding was among the hundreds of real estate investments from Congress that Insider uncovered as part of its Conflicted Congress project, which reviewed nearly 9,000 financial disclosure reports for all sitting lawmakers and their top-ranking staffers. I understand where they're going, but I can't say that I actually have an issue with it. Okay, so I tell everybody, hey, I work for the federal government. Okay, so I'm not a politician. No, I'm a bureaucrat, or if you consider a law enforcement officer a bureaucrat. But I do work for the federal government. Right now, I saved money from my paycheck every 2 weeks, and eventually I had enough to purchase rental properties. Right, and then I, bought rental properties with mortgages, and I became a landlord. And now I own several $1 million worth of real estate. But it took me years on end. It took me saving up money for years, working hard, etc. And there's, if they ever ask me anything about it, actually, in fact, for my security clearance, they did ask me all about it. And I told them every single last detail of all of my investments, okay? And, there's no problem with it. I didn't obtain them under, false means or any of that. And I have a nice addition to my income on top of my regular paycheck because of them. So that's why, maybe I'm a little bit more sympathetic to these politicians, because I'm like, well, there's nothing to say they couldn't have done the exact same thing I did. And I didn't start with some great deal of money. I didn't, make some huge deal of money. I just leveraged correctly, and I took, a long, slow path to get there. The insider analysis identified real estate as a favorite way for members of Congress to pad their $174,000 a year salaries. In all, 44 senators and 194 U.S. House members had such properties in 2020 annual personal financial disclosures show. Blumenthal's financial disclosure lists at least 43 real estate investments held by his spouse, including limited liability companies that are earning interest on rental properties in France, Spain, and England. Empire State Realty Trust includes not just the Empire State Building, but numerous other office and retail properties in the Big Apple and New York metropolitan area. Blumenthal's disclosure says 18 retail and office spaces are part of the portfolio. Yeah, so wealthy people own a lot of real estate. Okay, was there some sort of conflict there? No. I mean, that shouldn't make any difference in terms of, what they're doing as their job, in my opinion. And as I pointed out in a couple of my videos before, okay, the two squad members, the ones that I, like to bring up, Ayanna Pressley and Rashida Tlaib, they both owned rental properties themselves, okay? And we're talking about far left progressive politicians, and they're both Democrats, and they own rental properties as well. So, you can't tell me that this is a conflict of interest for this guy Blumenthal because his wife is very wealthy. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just on bigger scale, obviously. So yeah, I got no issues with it. Donald Trump, whose real estate holdings and political ambitions collided throughout his presidency, tried and failed to acquire the Empire State Building in the 90s. Today, Malkin's brother, Anthony Malkin, is president, chairman, and CEO of the Real Estate Investment Trust. I'm going to skip over a little bit there because, I'm not too interested in this Blumenthal guy, but there are some statistics in here that make it pretty interesting, and let's get straight down to them. And some highlights from the money-making ventures among 238 members of Congress include, and let's go. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who rents out a carriage house in Washington, D.C., reported on his 2020 financial disclosure that he earned up to $50,000 a year from the rental. His office didn't reply to questions about the tenant's identity. 19 lawmakers reported earning income in 2020 from rental properties located in the Washington, D.C. area. 25 lawmakers reported earning income in 2020 from properties located anywhere other than Washington or their home state. 88 lawmakers reported earning at least $15,001 or more in rental income in 2020 from a single property. 15 lawmakers reported owning at least one property where they listed earning up to $1 million in rental income. So yeah, breaking down some of these statistics here, when they talk about, how much money they're earning, they seem to be going in ranges, like pretty wide ranges. So, you'll see, somebody who earns over $15,000 or up to $50,000. That's okay. That's a pretty big range. Okay. Now, if you looked at gross rental income, just from my properties alone, I'm making gross, income, not even, subtracting any of my expenses, then I am, well over six figures. But if you look at how much I'm actually making after I pay my mortgages, my insurance, my taxes, my property managers, all the maintenance and repairs and all that, it's way less than that. So, I mean, these figures can be pretty misleading. And, I would be up there, oh, well, he makes up to $1 million. Well, yeah, if you're looking at a huge range like that, from somewhere between 100,000 and $1 million, like, yeah, and then you're looking at a huge range, and you're looking at gross figures. So I'm pretty sure that the majority of these politicians, they don't really make that much. They maybe own one property because they're just small mom and pop landlords. Now, you do have a few people in there who own, just a ton of real estate, but they are very, very, very wealthy people. So yeah, like I said, I got no problem with this. This is kind of a good thing, because I would prefer there to be a lot of politicians up in DC who own real estate, and maybe they will keep landlords in mind the next time they try to pass, some sort of legislation that hurts landlords, okay?